Those inside Man United believe Zirkzee's open to the move and are willing to pay his release clause. Apparently set to pay his release clause, but will agent fees play a part because he's lowering his agent fees for Man United and not Milan? Branthwaite deal looks set to be off, but is it poker games? Is it all games like we did with Mason Mount last summer? We're going to talk about the latest on that. Lindelof to Fenerbahce is looking like a real possibility. Obviously, Sergeant Ratcliffe speaks about Ten Hag and his decision on Ten Hag and why Ten Hag stayed. And interestingly, Trent Alexander-Arnold's had 2 shocking performances in midfield. Conor Gallagher comes on for 40 minutes, doesn't look much better. These England journos that wrote that Kobbie Mainoo couldn't play for England at half-time in a friendly versus Iceland and that Kobbie Mainoo was the reason that Rice played bad haven't said anything about the fact that England's midfield's a mess and it's got nothing to do with Kobbie Mainoo. Interesting, because that England game was boring, but I'm not here to talk about England because, that will send you to sleep. Let's talk about Joshua Zirkzee. Man United are preparing to trigger Joshua Zirkzee's £34 million release clause. United are in talks with the strikers camp, and while they maintain they have other options as well, there's a serious interest in bringing the Dutchman to Old Trafford. Now, one thing we do know is Man United believe Zirkzee's open to the move and are willing to activate the release clause to get it done in July. Zirkzee has a £34 million release clause, which becomes active in July. AC Milan have a verbal agreement with Zirkzee and are believed to be the favourites, but AC Milan will not pay what it takes to get Zirkzee and the agent fees. Reportedly, Zirkzee's agent is going to lower the price for United, and United are willing to pay what it takes for Zirkzee. Now, United will not activate Zirkzee's release clause if they don't think they can find an agreement with the player, but there's a feeling now within United that Zirkzee could be open to the move. They could find an agreement with Zirkzee, which is why they're set to activate the release clause. If they don't activate the release clause, it's probably because they don't think Zirkzee will say yes. If they do activate the release clause, it's because they've got indications that Zirkzee will come. And apparently Manchester United are going to activate the release clause. So what was said? It was said that Zirkzee's agent has asked Man United for 8 million in commission instead of 12.5, which he asked for Milan. Zirkzee is flattered by the interest from United, who are willing to pay his release clause. 8 million, joke. I cap it at 6 million most. I don't think he should get 6 million, but I cap it at 6 million most, so then it's a £40 million deal. Bish, bash, bosh. The agent fees is the big problem. We'll activate Zirkzee's release clause. I think Zirkzee is open to the move. There's reports coming out that while he has an agreement with Milan, Zirkzee is interested in the idea of United, but obviously the game time is really important for him. The big question is the agent fees. Milan aren't going to spend 12.5 million in agent fees. Can you blame them? I don't think 8 million is much better. You want to get down to at least 6 million. Realistically, agents should get maybe 2 million out of it. But agents are greedy, and, we're talking about all these rules and regulations being added to football. Well, you know what? If you want to add a rule and regulation, add one to agent fees. Not silly rules that are just going to impact, teams like Man United. So I want Zirkzee. He's a great facilitator, striker. He's an old-fashioned false 9. He likes to get on the ball. He likes to drop deep and come to the ball. And then what Zirkzee thrives is having wingers that run ahead of him. You look at Garnacho, you look at Rashford, the way they want to attack, the way they make runs in behind. Zirkzee drops deep a bit like Martial does, picks up the ball, uses his body well to turn and create space and manipulate defenders, has a good pass, and he can play it forward for Garnacho and Rashford to run on. And I think he would facilitate Garnacho, he'd facilitate Rashford, he'd bring out the best of them. If we brought in Elise, even better. I think Zirkzee's that kind of striker that would really bring out the best in our wing play, in our wingers. I think he's really, really good at dropping deep, and I really hope we get this deal done. Now, one deal I want to get done is the sale of Lindelof. Now, obviously, we're going to have to talk about the centre-back situation after this because we need to make sure we have 2 centre-back signings coming in. But it was said by James Ducker that Fenerbahce are interested in signing Lindelof. Now, it was said by this source that apparently, according to MUFC MPB, is a Tier 1 Turkish source, that Fenerbahce have started official talks to sign Lindelof. Tier 1 Turkish source and Man United sources saying Fenerbahce are interested in Lindelof and have begun talks. Sport Witness say that Fenerbahce sporting director Mario Branco is set to travel to England to try and complete the signing of Lindelof, who will cost €10 million, which is £8 million. I think we should get at least £10 million for Lindelof. They will also look to discuss a deal for Casemiro. Don't see Casemiro going that way, just because they need to actually pay money for Casemiro. Lindelof to Fenerbahce is looking like a real option, according to the Mappeteers. So Lindelof leaving Manchester United is now reportedly a very realistic and genuine option this summer. For me, I think Lindelof should leave. I'd rather keep Maguire. Lindelof's injury prone. Lindelof is weak in the air, and we've lost Varane. So I think if we lose Maguire and we keep Lindelof, we're lacking aerially. I think for me, If Maguire stays, not too fussed about it. I think he can offer something as a backup centre-back. Lindelof, I don't think it's good enough. Move him on. He's got 1 year left on his contract. I think we should be able to get more than €10 million from him. I think we should be able to get £10 million. But Fenerbahce, with Man United players, you can get them on the cheap and they like to mug us off. We are letting him go on the cheap side, but we need, I would have sold him for £15 million, but I know he's got 1 year left on his contract. I think, half of that is a joke. Hopefully we can get something done for £15 million or at least 10 million. I think if we get less than double figures, it's a joke. But Lindelof does need to be sold and offloaded. Which brings us into Lindelof replacements. Now, Branthwaite himself wouldn't be a Lindelof replacement. He'd be a Varane replacement because he'd be expected to start. He's agreed personal terms with Manchester United and is on 150k a week. So on that kind of money, you'd expect him to start. But let's talk about Jarrad Branthwaite. Rob Dawson says, Manchester United will walk away from talks with Jarrad Branthwaite soon if there's no indication that Everton are willing to compromise over a transfer fee. United have informed Everton that they do not have the funds to spend 70 million or more on one single player this transfer window. Sky Sports then said, Manchester United are unlikely to make a new bid for Branthwaite unless there are assurances Everton will reduce the price. United won't be drawn into a long-running saga over Branthwaite. If United feel there's no room for negotiation, they will move on to other targets, Leny Yoro among those. What do we know about Manchester United? They want Branthwaite. Branthwaite's the number one priority, but they're only willing to spend 50 to 55 million for Branthwaite and they'll walk away. They want to show that Ineos aren't the Man United that you can hold to extortionate prices. We will walk away if Branthwaite goes over £55 million. That is what United is saying, and that's very fair from United. Now, I do think a lot of this is games. I do think that United are going to put out on the media that they're going to walk away, and Everton are going to put out on the media that they're not going to lower the fee. It's poker games. What happens is if we get to July and we don't have Branthwaite, I don't think it's happening. Man United know that there's now 10 days for Everton to sell Branthwaite. They need the money by June 30th. So that is going to push Everton a little bit more for financial reasons. Everton are saying they don't need it for financial reasons, but Dyche basically said they did. Man United have got to hope that Everton do not sell Amadou Onana and that they can get a deal done for Branthwaite. There's a feeling inside United that Everton will lower the fee. However, it has been said by the Muppeteers that Manchester United made it clear to Everton that they want to know in the next 24 to 48 hours whether they're willing to lower the price for Branthwaite and reach a compromise. And Everton are growing increasingly confident of keeping Branthwaite because United are not going to raise their bid. So it is the poker games coming out. As you can see here, sources have indicated Manchester United are looking for an indication from Everton that they'll be willing to lower the price of Branthwaite, but there's no chance of that. It's the poker games. Everton saying there's no chance of us lowering the price. United saying, well, we're going to look elsewhere. What I think United will do is they'll say, give us 2 days to tell us what you're doing with Branthwaite and we're going to look elsewhere. Man United will then look elsewhere. Everton will panic. Everton know they have to sell by June 30th. Everton will lower the price. Man United swoop back in and they get Branthwaite for the price they want. They've got to remain strong. They've got to remain firm. The problem is, Leny Yoro looks Real Madrid bound. Todibo we can't get. They were our two main options. Everton are like, well, look, they've missed out on their two main options. They don't really have another option that isn't us. It's Mark Gay, who's going to be quite expensive as well because he's having a good Euros. Everton may feel that United might pay what it takes. But I think if we can get him for 55 million, including add-ons, or a 50 million deal, boom. I think if he goes above 60 million, we need to walk away because we need to show that Ineos are not being mugged off. Now, Erik ten Hag did an interview, and one of the things he was asked about in his interview was his decision to keep ten Hag. And he said this: we kept Erik ten Hag because he's a good coach. He did well at Ajax. The man in the street likes to think that the coach is everything, and maybe it was in the days of Ferguson. We've had a whole series of good coaches since, and none of them have succeeded. The root of the problem is not the coach, it's the environment around him. That's what we're looking at. We have to address the environment. And Ratcliffe has said this before, and I'll say it again. He's spot on. Erik ten Hag was a good coach who played good football at Ajax. He comes to United, he's won 2 trophies, but he can't be a good coach and play good football at United. How many good coaches have come to United and not been good? Look at Rangnick doing it for Austria in the Euros. It's like, you're a good coach, you come to United, you're crap. Maybe it's something to do with United. Maybe it's something to do with the environment. And I think Ratcliffe is right. He's hit the nail on the head. Unless you've got a coach that you know is an elite level coach lined up to replace ten Hag, there was no point replacing ten Hag because you realise that no manager succeeded in this United environment. No manager's been given time. And we brought ten Hag in because he played good football. We want to bring in another manager because they play good football. But that new manager might come to United and play crap football. So Ratcliffe is spot on with that. And talking of crap football, let's talk about England, because Jacob Steinberg wrote this when we played Iceland, that Maynard was a 4, he lacks the physicality, he lacks the nous, that Conor Gallagher needs to come in next to Declan Rice. There was obviously reports at half-time saying Maynard doesn't have what it takes to play for England as a 6, even though he was playing as an 8 from Jason Burt. I am so happy that no Man United player has featured in this Euros for Man United, for England. Marcus Rashford, he's not involved. Luke Shaw is not involved. Maguire's not involved. Maynard is not involved. They're not getting the blame for England being crap and the system being crap. I'm so glad about it, because if Maynard was playing anything like Rice played today, Maynard would be slated and Maynard would never be allowed to start again for England. He would be absolutely getting slated. So I'm really glad that the media that went on Maynard after, I don't think it was even a bad performance versus Iceland, but it wasn't a good performance from England in general. The midfield wasn't great. It's interesting to see, they're not writing those reports on Trent. They're not writing those reports on Foden. They're not writing those reports, on Gallagher. It's interesting, the hypocrisy within the media, and I just think it exposes them for what they are. Anyway, please hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. That's your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup. Thank you for watching. Bye.